Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto, and on this video we're going to continue with the GSX-R 750, the Skoal Bandit replica that is evolving out of that junkyard slabby I picked up a while back, so stay tuned. So yeah, like I said, we're going to continue on with the Skoal Bandit replica, the evolution of the junkyard slabby in this video. And as you can see behind me, all the bodywork is back from the paint booth. And as I mentioned in the last episode, there's still a pile of work to do on that bodywork. Everything's got to be wet sanded, flatted back, decals applied, and then back to the paint booth again for another couple of coats of clear on top of all of that. So that's just part of what we got to get done today. Yeah, and the truth is that might not even happen in its entirety today either, but we'll just be picking away at things and moving along as best we can. As I said before, this particular project is taking quite a while, not least because I still haven't taken that engine out yet. I've just been so preoccupied with getting all the body work, I just haven't had time to dedicate to pulling that engine out. But I think that's going to happen, at least start it in this video, and we'll see how we go. And if I don't get at it, it's just not going to get done, and I'm anxious to move it along. So we'll keep picking away and see how far we get. And I think the first thing I'm going to do today, though, is put the brake discs back on the wheels. That's the next job. I've elected to go with the original black ones for now. I can always change them later, I guess. So I did clean up the heads of these bolts. I'll use some Loctite thread locker. I'll just use the blue thread locker on here. The other thing I'll mention here, a lot of you probably already know this, but the front wheel rotors are usually marked. So this has an R on it, so for right side, obviously. The other one has an L for left. So just keep that in mind when you're installing the rotors, that you put them on the right side. I'll be honest, I don't know what the difference is, what happens, or what the issues are related with putting them on the wrong side, but it says R and L on it, so there's got to be a reason. Maybe you know. If you do, drop a comment below and let me know, educate me. Yeah, those wheels definitely look good with the black rotors, the black centered rotors there. I think that's going to look better than using the gold ones off the Bandit. So yeah, I'm happy with those. They look good. Next task. All right, so I put the battery back in and I cranked it over with the plugs out, and that's the fuel that came out of cylinder 3. And it's there's so much fuel in there, it's just ridiculous. I'm going to have to crank it again so you can see it. Look at that, that's just mad. So clearly those carburetors are just chucking fuel in there. Either floats are set wrong, or needle and seats are worn or stuck or something. But whoever had those carburetors out to clean them did not do a good job. And that is a lot of fuel in there. So when I first saw the bike start up, it was having similar issues on cylinder 1, and now cylinder 3. So probably they were all having issues there. All right, so I got all the fuel out of that number 3 cylinder. There was no fuel in the others, so I'm going to just see if she'll fire up. Okay, fuel bottle is on. You can see it up here. So we'll see if that makes all kinds of difference. It's all pissing out all over the. Well, a number 4 cylinder is not running at all. Alright, so yeah, it was running like crap. Number 4 cylinder isn't really doing too much. I ran it, and well, here's what happened. So I first started it up, and it didn't really want to fire, almost like there was no fuel really. So I put the fuel bottle on it, and then most of that fuel pissed out of the bottom of the bike, out of the airbox, but it did start. And then 1, 2, and 3 were running and firing, but it was still popping, which was telling me that one of those cylinders was just, you know, sucking air basically, and that was number 4. I put the temperature laser gun on it, so at the time it was only like 70 degrees, whereas the others were, you know, in the hundreds of degrees. So this one was cold. So then I put some more fuel in the fuel bottle, and it started up, and it got up to like 160 degrees. So it started to fire, but it still wasn't performing like the others. So it seems to me that the smartest thing to do here would be to pull off the carburetors right now and get this thing running properly while it's in this bike. I'm not sure how easy or how difficult the 1200 will be to work on once it's in the new frame. So I just rather get at this and get it running before I pull it apart, and see what's happening. I'll pull the valve cover off as well, because apparently the valves were set. It seemed to run pretty well when I was at the guy's house, but of course now it isn't. So it's probably just got issues with the carburetors, is my guess. So that's the plan. I'm going to pull that airbox off, or move it back or whatever, and get those carburetors out of there and see what's going on. There's no point in getting this thing all torn down and then having to deal with the engine not running properly later on. Might as well get that sorted out now. Yeah, backed it up to the doors here, ran it for a little bit longer, and after I shut off the fuel bottle for a few seconds or so, it did start to run a little bit better. So maybe what's happening there is as the fuel starts to starve off just a little, as the fuel starts to run out, the bike starts to run a little bit better. It starts to idle, all 4 cylinders come to life. So I think definitely getting too much fuel. Cylinder 1. Cylinder number 2. Alright, so I've pulled the float balls off and the float assemblies. I haven't checked all the float assemblies yet for damage to floats or the needles, but you can see that there's a lot of crap inside these float balls, a lot. And I think if we look inside that needle and seat area there's also a possibility of some crap in there. I'll see if that comes out. The other ones don't look too bad from what I can tell. The one thing I did notice, I think, can you see there the O-ring for the fuel intake? Looks like it's split. So that's got to get sorted out. These things are going to have to be de-racked and ultrasonically cleaned at minimum. So that crap on my finger there was in the seat of cylinder carburetor number 1. This was under the seat of number 4. It was actually underneath the actual brass fitting there, but where the O-ring is. Alright, so I'm just going to start taking these carburetors apart, and we'll see what other kinds of shite we can find in here. So the carbs are all individually separated. I still got to pull out these sink springs and that kind of stuff. When all the parts arrive, we'll get everything back together. So just so you see what I normally do, if you see my other videos, this is the same idea. Bottom end of the float bowl components in one tray, top end components in another tray, and then there's kind of a not fifth tray, but I guess a ninth tray that has the stuff that kind of goes in between the carbs, and then another one with all of the common racking components and screws and bolts and all that kind of good stuff. So just keeps everything well organized. I don't like mixing any of the parts up. It just makes it much easier to reassemble and keep track of everything. Got this old bottle of the Total Wax foaming wheel cleaner, so I'm actually going to give it a try on these rear sets here with a brass brush. It seems to be doing a good job. This one came up pretty good. So someone suggested toilet bowl cleaner, but this stuff seems to be doing the trick, so that's good. So I figured I'd start taking a look at the brake calipers, because they're likely to be quite a mess. So pop the cover off this guy, and there's a quick look in there. You can even see the boot is not even on the piston there. But so the plan, I'm going to see if I can get the brake pads out first, of course, and then I'll see if I can get the master cylinder to work. I've got everything still assembled here, and see if I can work out the pistons, get them to pop out. So there's the GSX-R Skoal Bandit tank that has now been wet sanded back with 400. So that's now ready for a decal application, and then once the decal is on here, then this thing can go back to the paint booth for 2 more coats of clear. So the same thing I've done with that now has to happen with all of this, everything. So next I'll get into sanding back the upper fairing, and yeah, it's going to be a few days of wet sanding, I think. So I got all the body panels wet sanded yesterday, and for some reason I thought I'd used 400 wet in the past, and I hadn't. I'd always used 600, and it's one of those things where it didn't even occur to me until I was crawling into bed last night, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, what the heck were you thinking? I mean, no harm, no foul. There's lots of clear coat on here, so I'm going to give it all another going over today with 600 wet, so that it's a slightly finer finish on it, and that should do the trick. But yeah, 600 wet's what I normally use. I have no clue why I went to 400 wet. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of going over some of the panels where I got a little bit of green overspray or green dust for whatever reason. So you can see that there's one right there. So I'm going to try to just I'm using my little airbrush just to kind of dust those guys back in white. So I'm going to try to film this while I I'm going to put a couple of coats on, so that's that one satisfactory for now. All right, time to start applying the decals. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and cut everything out, and they're kind of grouped by, you know, which panel. So I'm going to start with the tail panel, and there's the other one. Just I'm using that one just for reference of where the GSX-R 750 has to be located on here. All right, so there is the first one, and we'll carry on going. So what I'm going to do with this panel is I'm just kind of keeping this one here to make sure that my stripes line up as best I can with this one, and just make it look that much better if these align properly. All right, so there is that panel. So that lines up reasonably well. This guy, get that in there. So now I just got to put the Saks decal on here, so I'll look at some photos to get this placed in the right spot. All right, so there is the right side of the tail section and the whatever is done there. So looks good. Alright, so if you've never seen my decal application videos before, I'll preface it by saying I'm not a professional. I've done lots and lots and lots of these things, but there's certain things that I don't like to do. You know, convex and concave surfaces are a bit of a bugger, but anything that's kind of fairly straightforward, I'll do it. The one that this bike that has me a little bit worried is the tank. As I said, I've got my my professional decal guy coming tomorrow, so I'll film that. He did the Kawasaki ZX-7 over there. You may remember the video for that. And so that stripe, I would have a go at it if it was one piece. Like if it was the green, white, green, and it was all in one, then I would do it, but it isn't. Because then I could take the pre-mask off and stretch it. It's actually two separate green stripes, and you leave the space in between for this white to show through. So you pretty much got to apply it with the pre-mask still attached, which makes it much more difficult to stretch and bend, even though it's got a curved, you know, this is the decal here, and it's curved. It's still a bugger to put on, and so this is, obviously it's not white there, it's just blue in between, which tells you that that's a decal is separate to this decal. So that is the one that worries me quite a bit. I'm going to do these lower fairings now, and the one on this that worries me a little bit is this one. But I'm hoping, because there's no decal material in here, that it should be a little bit more straightforward to apply this one. I might end up having to cut this out just so that it'll flex a little bit, but we'll see on that. So yeah, there's 3 to apply here. There's a Suzuki thing goes on the bottom somewhere. Again, I've got to look at the photos before I apply them. And then there's a Bandit head that goes on here someplace as well. I'll get all that oriented properly. The other thing I'll say is, before I apply any decals to any panel, rubbing alcohol isopropyl rubbing alcohol to clean the whole panel. So yeah, one of the things you don't want to do, this is my decal application solution. It's just soap, water, and a little bit of alcohol. 2 drops of soap, a dribble of alcohol, and the rest is water. But I apply these one at a time. You don't want to have any of these decals with the backing getting wet, because if this backing gets wet for too long, it'll actually stick to the decal, and then you got a heck of a time to get it off. So one at a time. So I'll start with this one, look at some pictures and figure out where it goes, and then we'll get these lower panels done. But first I've got to wipe this off with some rubbing alcohol. So what I've done with this decal is, because it's just an outline of white, and there's actually quite a bulge here in the fairing, and applying decals over kind of convex and concave shapes is a bit of a challenge. If you leave all of this stuff in place as it is now, it has a much better chance of conforming to the panel and getting less air bubbles in it. So I've just cut that one section out. It should stay quite uniform with that cut out, but it'll make it easier to apply. So I'll just peel off this backing paper. Give this a bit of a wet down with my soapy water. Now I just want to start at one place and just work the water out from underneath that decal. This is where it gets tricky, because now we're into this convex shape here, and it's been a bit of a, I thought it would be much easier with this what might work better is if I peel off this pre-mask, lift the decal from the pre-mask. And then I'm hoping that by removing the pre-mask, it's going to allow me to get a bit more compliance in this vinyl. There. So now, the pre-mask really stops the vinyl from wanting to stretch and whatnot. So I think I'm going to need a little bit of heat. So got my Barbie hair dryer here. Don't want to use a heat gun because that's too much. Just a little bit of that heat from the hairdryer just helps tremendously. You don't want it too hot from a heat gun, because that can go to Go the heck real quick. You know, ends in tears pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm going to just go around and check that I've got everything laid down properly. There's no air bubbles and whatnot. So yeah, that looks good. But yeah, that's actually quite tricky to lay that down on that hump. I thought it would be far easier than that, but we got it. That's okay. So again, on this this decal, I've just referenced internet photographs to know where it goes. This bike obviously was not a Skoal Bandit before, so I had no point of reference for where the decals are supposed to go. So again, so I placed this based on what I saw in the pictures, and then hinged it with a piece of tape, flip the decal over, and that way I can peel the backing paper off. Decal wants to come with the backing paper, so you just gotta take it slow. Like this one at the end here is wanting to peel up with the. Sometimes if you go from the other side, it'll come off. There we go. So there, that's that. So now I hit it with some of my soap solution. Flip that down, and what I want to do is I want to work my way from the center down and out. Like that. Same in the other direction. And squeegee all that water out. And then the pre-mask comes off. So just pick up one corner, and then you don't want to pull it out. You want to pull it back on itself, basically kind of 180 degrees away. So I'll start here, and then pull in this direction. And then you have less chance of pulling the decal back off the bike. This is where we are so far. So far, so good. So the side panels and lowers are done. All right, up a fairing. Alright, so for this panel here, I got the bottom stripe on. That was really the same process as all of the others. Now this Skoal Bandit, what I've done is I've cut out part of the S and the K, only because it has to fold down to over this duct, the contours there. So when I position that, if I leave that as kind of one piece, it's just not going to fold down particularly easily. So I imagine I'm gonna have to remove the pre-mask from some of this, especially up here, but we'll give it a go like this first and see how we go. Here we go. It was trickiest part of the whole thing was this stuff wanted to stick to the backing paper and not the pre-mask, and then yeah, it was just that whole just peeling it and getting the pre-mask off without all this stuff wanted to come with it. But anyway, piece by piece, it's coming together. So far I'm pleased. Looks pretty damn good. So the next piece that I have to do is the front fender. Now I'm not 100% sure, but I believe there's two different styles of front fender. One of them has the stripe like this, so two-tone green and white, And the other one is basically just like this with a white Suzuki lettering on the front. Now the 86, I believe, just has the white Suzuki lettering because that's how my kit came. However, I like this a lot better. So it has a Bandit head that goes on there as well. So that's what I'm going to put on. And Graham at the Image Works was kind enough to make these up for me special because I wanted to add that to my bike, and he sent me two, I guess, because maybe he thinks there's a good chance that I might bugger one up, which he could be right. So the typical part about this is you've got kind of a convex shape again, so it's curving in this direction and it's curving in this direction. So with the bigger the decal and the bigger the curve, the more difficult it will be. So I just have to be careful about how I apply this one. I'm going to use some heat in the process, and I might end up taking off that pre-mask as well, just to get it to conform a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to try this by hinging it on the long side there. I think I've got it pretty close to center. Get rid of the backing paper. I've got the front of the fender kind of blocked up here in a rubber block just because I don't want the decal touching this paper that I have. Eyeball this. Barbie hair dryer, just to warm the vinyl a little bit. There's one thing I need to kind of show you here. So the idea behind doing this is that, like you can see right here, the edge starts to pucker. Now what I've been told is you don't want to move the pucker it this way. You kind of want to come at it on a 45. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is work that out. I'll take the pre-mask off. I think I have a couple of wrinkles in here that I'm not going to be happy with. We'll take a look, see. I'm pretty pleased with that. That's come out quite well. There we are. There's the front fender. That looks pretty darn good. Gotta say, very pleased with how that looks. There we go. As a solo cowl is done. A shot of the upper fairing. Looks pretty good. These guys were a little bit tricky, but it all worked out in the end. they'll basically sit there now until Saturday. That's a couple of days. It's Thursday today. Let them all dry off. Any water trapped behind those decals will kind of gas off. I have it kind of all sitting in front of my little furnace, my heater here, so when that comes on to keep the shop warm, it should help dry those out. And now it's just the tank. So yeah, stay tuned for Adam from Adam's Graphics in North Bay, and we'll see what this is, the decal right here. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, I'm just gonna cheat the green here a little bit to help aid the curving. Yeah, it should. It's supposed to have like a little gap like that down here.
Yeah, there should be a gap at the bottom, as close to parallel as possible, but just as long as, I think as long as it just covers the green a little bit there, okay, that'll be perfect. Even if it's not completely parallel, that's good. Okay.
Okay, here goes. I don't get nervous for any other installs than yours.
Get out of here. Yeah. That's not true. It'd be nice if the some of the pre-mast had a bit more flex to it, eh?
Well, that 3M stuff behind you,
yeah,
does.
Oh, it does it?
Yeah, it stretches quite a bit more actually. But yes, most pre-masts don't.
And once you get it off, you can see that it does have some stretch to it, but it doesn't seem to move once the vinyl's stuck to it.
Yeah. That was just way down. This isn't bolt down. You gotta get rid of that. Because that's where it's gotta end up. And that's where it's gotta be there. Just gotta get rid of that. It's nice being not clear coated because it doesn't bite as hard.
Oh. It's been cleared, but it's been sanded down.
Yeah. Well, you're holding the tank for me. I gotta put some full on it. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. Okay, this should be good now. Just needed that initial.
Just to get a nice stretch on it.
Yeah. Was that?
Perfect.
And it's just. Right on. Okay, we just gotta do that again. You can curve it like a little bit at a time too.
Right. Just kind of pull it off and then curve it again.
Yeah. It'll get a little bit more each time. All right, let me just hold that tank again. I'll give her a good one. See these wrinkles up here?
Yep.
You just work them out on an angle.
Yep.
Kind of just, and they'll tell you if they're going to lay down or not.
I remember that from last time.
Did you?
Yeah, it worked when I was applying some of those at a Decals yesterday. It was, I remembered, and some of them I took the pre-mask off to help it lay down a little bit better.
Happy with that?
Yep. So I was learning as you were doing it last time.
Good. That's good. So you can tell how much I've stretched it, eh?
Yeah.
There's tension here.
Yeah.
That actually helps it go right down. There we go.
So there we are. Tank stripe is on, looking good. Back to the booth for some clear coat now. I almost forgot to put the R Hypersports decal on there, so got both of those on, and yeah, that looks tremendous. I'm really pleased with that. Yeah, I'm excited to get back to the paint booth now and put the clear on all that stuff. It's going to look really, really good. Got the one on the other side there. Right on. Good stuff. So that's going to be a wrap for this video. Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And stick a comment below. Tell me what you think. And we'll talk to you in the next video, which will probably entail getting all the clear coat on that tank and the rest of the bodywork for the Skoal Bandit. And also, hopefully the carb kit arrives for the 1200. We'll get that sorted out and running, and then we can start getting it torn right down and get that engine out so we can get that into the new frame. So stay tuned, lots more to go, and we'll talk to you the next time. Thanks.